We're here for College Goals Sunday. This is the first of actually 2 consecutive College Goals Sundays we're going to have this year. The purpose of this event is to help students and parents complete the free application for federal student aid, which is the primary application for most forms of federal and state aid, including TOPS, Go Grant, Pell Grant, and a number of institutional scholarships as well. Parents of students who are seniors in high school that are planning to attend college next fall, they need to go ahead and complete the FAFSA as early as possible. There are a lot of aid decisions and financial aid packages that are determined by how timely the FAFSAs are submitted. There are some forms of aid that are first come, first served, so the earlier you can get your application in, the better. We hold College Goals Sunday at post-secondary institutions around the state. We're at 10 locations today, Sunday, February 28th, and we have 9 more locations that will be participating next week on March 6th. At these events, we have the financial aid staffs from the host universities available to assist parents line by line in completing the FAFSA, answering any questions they may have, and we also will have some follow-up events. If you don't get an opportunity to make a College Goals Sunday event, you can call our office or go to our website, which is www.osfa.la.gov, and contact us about some follow-up locations we're going to have around the state. We can also hold FAFSA completion events at individual high schools on request.
I came here today because I need help filling out this application. This is my first time doing it. My son's a freshman, so I needed to come and get some help, one-on-one, because I like that one-on-one.
What did you learn here so far?
Well, I learned it wasn't as complicated as I thought, which I found that hard to believe, but it really wasn't.
Did you find College Goals Sunday helpful?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yes, I am. I did.
Just to find out information about FAFSA and how to get my daughter ready for college.
Did you find the session informative? What did you learn?
I was informative. Just learned what we need to do online and just figure out how to get it all done.
Yeah, to help out with this FAFSA, because a lot of people have a hard time filling it out and not familiar with a lot of it.
We came in today to actually fill out the proper paperwork for the FAFSA, and we also learned how to make sure we complete it.
Did you learn a lot here today?
We did, yes.
What do you think of College Goals Sunday?
I think it's great. I think it's great information for everybody to come here and fill out the information and any questions that they have that's unresolved to make sure that they get those answered.
Well, my son here is the first for going to college, and I've learned that, you have to get this FAFSA registration, and it's important for so many things. For him to even get a student job, it's important for so many different things. And there's things I learned today I wouldn't have learned unless I had come here today.
Did you find the session informative?
Oh, yeah, and they gave a lot of handouts. That was helpful, too.
I came today for my daughter, and I have a lot to learn. I don't know where I'm at, I'm kind of lost right now, but she's going to be coming from Covington, Louisiana, Covington High School, and we came today to find out information about student aid and how we could get, her in here, and, we're just trying to find out what to do.
Did you find this informative?
Oh, I did. I found out it was I did. I really got a lot of help coming here.
I usually like to do things with help rather than just figuring it out on my own. So, some people like to do it the hard way. I like to do it the easy way, and this is much easier, so I recommend coming in.
I came here today because I needed help filling out the FAFSA application for federal and state help. And I was able to learn that there are resources that we have here in Hammond at Southeastern, and people that are willing to help us get the information, the correct information.
Did you find College Goals Sunday helpful?
I did find it helpful. It's frustrating because there's so much to learn and to get together the information, but there were people here available to help, and I was so appreciative of the staff here at Southeastern and how they came to help us get our questions answered.
To get us some information from my little brother about how to do this financial aid and FAFSA and to get the process done for him. It was good. We learned how to do it, and we get some good help from the staff here.
Would you recommend College Goal Sunday to others?
Yeah, I would, because it's very good information that you get.
I came here today to learn about the FAFSA and any financial aid that may be available to my daughter. And the reason why we came to Southeastern is because it's the closest location.
Is this your first child to attend college?
This is our first child.
Did you find this informative?
I did find it informative. They were able to give me a broad spectrum of the information, but then they met with me one-on-one and answered my question personally.
We were instructed by their high school that there was a good chance of them helping us with the FAFSA application, so we came down.
What did you learn here today?
We learned to fill out the application and what we needed, and information regarding TOPS and what might happen or might not happen with TOPS. So,
What do you think of College Goal Sunday?
very educational.
We're trying to fill out this form for my daughter.
How did you find College Goal Sunday? Was it informative?
It was. It helped.
What did you learn here today?
How to fill this out, the do's and don'ts, and the mistakes we don't want to make.
We came here today to make certain that we were completing our FAFSA as most efficiently as possible, and we learned exactly how to do that, and now we're performing those duties.
What do you think of College Goal Sunday?
I think it's great. It's a great opportunity for people to come and learn the questions that they think that they have, as well as any questions that they don't know that they have that will be answered by other parents. So it's good, informative information.
Welcome everyone to the LASFA event for College Goal Sunday. We hope that you all gain some information that will help you with this process. I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I know that it can be confusing, but always know that you have help at the different schools where you be attending, or even if you do not plan to attend a certain college, if that's your local college, then you can go and ask questions and get some information or help, okay? Or call the Department of Education. But anyway, we're here to help you. Just wanted to let you know that. And LASFA is sponsoring this event today, the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance. What is financial aid? I'm not going to read every little portion, but some of them I will. But anyway, what is financial aid? Financial aid involves any type of funding that helps a student with their educational expenses. And we're going to go over a few of those things. But one of the first things that this presentation goes over is the expected family contribution. How many in here have heard of the EFC? Not too many. You will know what this is before your student is finished with this process. But anyway, this is the way that I explain to parents and students is the EFC is called expected family contribution. This is a calculation that the Department of Education calculates using information from the FAFSA, and I call it their estimate, the Department of Education's estimate of what the family can contribute. So it's not what you have to contribute, it's what they estimate, and then we have to use that. It's a code for us to determine eligibility for financial aid. Okay, not TOPS, but regular, like Pell Grant and different things. Just want to be real clear about that. And then what is financial need? Because some types of aid depend on financial need and some do not. And basically it's a math calculation. Cost of attendance, which again is an estimate, minus the expected family contribution, or the EFC that the Department of Ed calculates, and then that equals to the financial need, which some types of aid, and we'll go through that, which ones a student have to be eligible for based on the financial need. There are different categories of financial aid. There's need-based and non-need-based. And then these are the different types: scholarships, grants, loans, and employment. Okay, scholarships, everybody understands that. It's funds that the student has earned based on different criteria. Usually they're cumulative GPA, but it can vary. Grants is money that students do not pay back. Scholarships they don't pay back either, and usually awarded on the basis of financial need. That same little calculation that we talked about already. Loans. Loans is a type of financial aid that students do have to pay back, students or parents, depending on who has the loan. So that's the difference. And it is strongly encouraged that you only borrow what is really needed. Work study. Work study, there's two different types of work study, state and federal. A student has to be eligible for federal work study. State is for any student on campus, and they have to be at least half-time enrollment and basically apply for the work study through their work study office. And usually they work on campus, but not all positions work on campus. Sources of financial aid, mainly it's the federal government, and then you have state, post-secondary, private, civic, and then employers. And then the Louisiana state aid. Mr. Gus Wales will give you that information. Thank you, Gus.
I'm going to talk to you about the state aid that is available. What you see listed there are the programs that our office administers, the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance. Of course, you're all familiar with the TOPS Award, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Also, the TOPS Tech Award, the TOPS Tech Early Start Award, which is a dual enrollment program for high school students. The Louisiana Go Grant is Louisiana's need-based aid. Basically, if you qualify for a Pell Grant, you will be considered for a Go Grant as well. That's why it's so important to fill out the FAFSA, because it does get you considered for both federal and state aid. And then there's some smaller aid programs that we also administer that are listed there. What do I need to do? This is the application deadlines for TOPS. Basically, what you want to do is make sure that you file your FAFSA as early as you can. You do have up to a year after you graduate from high school before you have to file. If your student wants to take a year off after high school before going to college, some students want to work and earn some extra money, you can delay your enrollment for 1 year. From the date of high school graduation to the 1-year anniversary first fall semester following the 1-year anniversary of your high school graduation. Obviously, you guys are ahead of the curve and you're here today to file your FAFSA, so this is not going to really mean anything to you. But just if you have other friends or neighbors or wondering if they plan to attend school post-secondary next fall, they need to try to make sure they get the FAFSA file before July 1st, but as early as possible. If you do decide to delay for a year, there are some other deadlines there. After July 1st of the second year after high school graduation, you start running into some penalties for late filing. But again, you guys don't have to worry about that. All right, you're all getting ready to go through the TOPS processing cycle. I'm going to let you know what to expect. In order to determine your TOPS eligibility, our office has to match 3 pieces of data. ACT score, which we get from ACT, your high school grade data, which we get from the Louisiana Department of Education. Now, the Department of Education has a deadline of June 15th to get your academic information to us. So in most cases, it's going to be around that time before we can even begin to determine your eligibility. So don't panic. If you walk across the stage in May, it's going to be mid-June before we can actually process you because that's the deadline for getting your grades again. And again, we get that information from the Louisiana Department of Education. And then the third set of information we get from the FAFSA. So about a week, I'd say 7 to 10 days after you file your FAFSA, sign it, send it in. About a week later, you can open an account in the student's name on the Louisiana award system on our website. It's at osfa.la.gov, and you're looking for the link to the Louisiana award system. When you create an account on that award system, you will be able to receive all information regarding TOPS through that award system page. You will be able to create a login, and you'll be able to follow your TOPS eligibility as we go through the process. You'll be able to see what ACT scores we have. If we're missing a score that you want us to have, you can contact our office and we'll track it down for you. If there are any matching errors based on name or any other data not matching up on these 3 data sources, we can let you know that. And then once you're in college, you can continue to use that award system account to track your eligibility semester to semester. So that's highly recommended that you do that, again, 7 to 10 days after you file your FAFSA. Once all the required data is retrieved and received and matched, we will determine your eligibility. And if you have an award system account, you will be notified by email of your eligibility. You'll be able to download and print from the award system an award letter that you can provide to your school. And any questions that you have, you can contact our office. I'll give you some contact information shortly. The colleges all have a master list of eligible TOPS students, so that's how the colleges, that's how we find out where you're going to school. The colleges actually bill us after the 14th class day for students who are on our master roster that are in their school. So you don't need to let us know what school you're attending. The school will let us know when it's time for billing. All right, these are some tips to make sure that your processing goes smoothly. First and most important, make sure you indicate your name, date of birth, home street address, the same on all documents, and that includes school records, ACT test registrations, FAFSA, college applications, etc. Make sure you put your name down the same on all those documents. Good rule of thumb is whatever your name is on your Social Security card, use that name on everything that you submit. If there are differences, our office can assist you in pulling everything together and making sure we get the right information with the right people. Make sure to include the TOPS ACT code of 1595 or the SAT TOPS code of 9019 on all test registrations. If you have taken the SAT or the ACT and not put the code, we will be able to retrieve your score. In fact, with ACT, if it's been 6 months or longer, we probably already have your score. If you put your code on the test, we'll have it within 3 or 4 weeks of you taking the test. But again, if you go to the website and create that Louisiana Award System account, you'll be able to see the ACT scores we have. If there's a score that you want us to use that we don't have, contact us and we'll track it down. Make certain that TOPS has a consent form. You all should have had a consent form, parents, that you signed at the beginning of the school year that allows the Department of Education to share your grade data with LOSFA. If you did not fill out one of those consent forms, you need to contact your high school counselor and get one completed so that we can process you for TOPS. Make sure that you are taking the correct TOPS core curriculum courses. Make sure that you're aware that your TOPS award is based on your TOPS core GPA. We have a lot of folks every year that are very surprised that it's not the cumulative GPA that we look at. You have to have a minimum 2.5 on that 19-unit TOPS core in order to qualify. That does not include your electives, your PEs, things of that nature, strictly your core courses. Make sure that your FAFSA application is signed by both the student and the parent. If both don't sign it with a FSA ID number, then you will get an incomplete FAFSA notice back from the federal processor, and your FAFSA will be waiting for that second signature until they receive it. Make certain that the email contact address that you put on the FAFSA is the email address to which you want your TOPS eligibility notice sent. When your Louisiana award system account is created, the email address that you use on your FAFSA is the one we will send your TOPS eligibility notice to. After that time, if you want to go in and change it, you can, but initially that's the email address we're going to use. If you have taken dual enrollment courses in high school, just be aware those course grades will become part of your college cumulative GPA. And once we evaluate your college GPA for continuation, those grades will average in that you earned in dual enrollment courses while you were in high school. We've already talked about this. And also make sure that your Social Security number is the same on all documents. Now, our office can no longer see Social Security numbers. As soon as they come into our system, they are encrypted, and no one in our office can physically see your Social Security number. But behind the scenes, the computer is matching that information from those three sources by social. It's again, not seen by human eyes, but make sure that your social is the same on all documents that you submit. This is what the consent form looks like that you should have signed in the fall. Now, many schools took this and put it on their letterhead, but the content should be the same. So if you do not recall signing a document like this, you need to contact your high school counselor and do so if you're wanting to be processed for TOPS. Okay, now I know you're all concerned about what you've been hearing in the news. I wish I could give you some definite information, but right now this is all we can tell you, and that is, number one, don't panic. The legislature is working very hard to solve the problem. We're all hoping that TOPS will be fully funded for next year. There's a good chance that next year's TOPS amount of appropriation may not be determined until the regular session of the legislature, which does not adjourn until, I think, June the 6th or something of that nature. Next year's budget may not be decided in this special session, so it may be June before we know for sure. But from everything that we can see and everything that we have heard, they are working very hard to preserve TOPS and make sure that as many students as possible are still included. So don't take everything that you see in the media at face value. There's a lot of preliminary information out there that is not by any means final. Right now, both sides are trying to make points, and you guys are kind of caught in the middle at this point. But again, we're very optimistic that the program is going to survive much as it is now. Now, there may be some tweaking. Every year there are some attempts to perhaps make the program a little more rigorous, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I think they'll take small steps. So just keep up with the news and keep on doing what you're doing as if nothing has changed. And in that vein, make sure that you file your FAFSA as early as possible. Take the April 9th ACT test. That's the last opportunity you have to increase your composite score with no penalty. And study hard for your finals. That's your last chance to increase your GPA. So again, just work hard, and as soon as any information that's definite is available, we'll get that out through the media, through your high schools, and through every other means we have available.
I do want to say that there's also lots of different things online. if you haven't done a search, we get information all the time about different scholarships and things like that. Just do some searches, okay? And then employers from your parents, also check into that. All right, the FAFSA. The first letter that is free application for federal student aid. So if you're on a site, or you've heard somebody say that they went on a site and it's asking them to pay a fee, you're on the wrong site. We get that question, not a lot, but we do get it, and I try to stress that to people. It's a free process, so do not pay for it. And there's people to help you with that process. The FAFSA, we kind of went over the EFC earlier, so I'm not going to go into that, but it does say the amount of money a student and his or her family may reasonably be expected to contribute towards the cost of the student's education for one academic year. This is only good for 1 year because it's going to use that income from the previous year. Basically, I just wanted to stress that it is an estimate, as I said earlier. Okay, it's not what you're expected to pay, it's just an estimate for determining eligibility. The IRS data retrieval tool, that's something that's been added to the FAFSA that has kind of made things a little easier as far as processing, but if you haven't filed your 2015 tax return at this time, then you won't be able to use that just yet. And you usually have to wait so many weeks after you file your tax return before you can actually use the data retrieval tool, okay? But you can go in and do a will file if you haven't already filed your tax return and complete it that way for right now. And then go in and use this later. These are just some information about the data retrieval tool. It is voluntary. It's not something that you have to do. You can just use your own information. Basically, the data retrieval tool, when you use this tool, you're giving the Department of Education permission to retrieve your information directly from the IRS, okay? So it reduces the amount of documents that are requested later from your financial aid office. Now the FSAID, I'm pretty much going to read these things because it is pretty new. The Federal Student Aid ID, which is your FSAID, replaces the Federal Student Aid PIN. If you've had a student already in school and using the FAFSA, then you're familiar with the PIN, but that's what was used in the past. If you already have one, you can link your information to your new FSAID by entering your PIN while registering for your FSAID. If you or your parent, if you are a parent of a dependent student, you will need your own FSAID to complete this. Basically, they're going to use it for signing electronically, and your FSAID is used to sign legally binding documents electronically through this process. It has the same legal status as a written signature, but like it says here, do not give your FSAID to anyone, not even someone helping you fill out the FAFSA. Sharing it could put you at risk of identity theft. Please don't do that. You and your parent, if you're a dependent student, can apply for an FSAID at any time. If you don't have one by the time you fill out your FAFSA, you will be prompted to apply for one, and the staff in the computer lab will help you with this process if you've had trouble with that. And if you think your Social Security Administration might have the wrong name or date of birth, you might want to contact their office to correct any errors. A lot of times this happens like if the mother has changed her name and hasn't changed her Social Security, the name on her Social Security card, then basically it's going to use what is on the Social Security card. So please use whatever's on that, okay, through this process. All right, now we're going to talk about dependent versus independent status. There's a list on, basically there's a dependency section on the FAFSA, and it's going to ask these different questions. And just so you understand, this is a section that the Department of Education uses on the FAFSA to determine if a student is dependent or independent. They have their own definition, and this is basically how they lay it out. So the first question, were you born before January 1st, 1993? You're going to probably answer no. And all of these questions, if you answer no to all of them, then the student is considered dependent, meaning that they are required to use a parent or a parent's information on the FAFSA to determine eligibility. If there is any one of these questions that the student can answer yes to, then in that situation they are considered independent and not required to use parent information. So the next question is, as of today, are you married? And then the next question, at the beginning of the 2016-17 school year, will you be working on a master's or a doctorate program? That doesn't mean will you someday, that means in that school year. Are you currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces for purposes other than training, not just boot camp training, okay? And then, are you a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? And do you have children who will receive more than half of their financial support from you between July 2016 and June 2017? And then another question, do you have dependents other than your spouse or child who will live with you and receive more than half of their financial support from you through June 2017? Another question, at any time since you turned age 13, were both of your parents deceased? Were you in foster care, or were you a dependent or ward of the court? Some of these things will require documentation to your financial aid office later on. And these are the last three. Are you or were you an emancipated minor as determined by a court in your state of legal residence? Are you or were you in legal guardianship as determined by a court in your state of legal residence? This does not mean were you under a custody of one parent versus another parent. Legal guardianship is a court-ordered legal guardianship, basically. So you would have to have something from signed by a judge saying that someone other than your parents were given legal guardianship over you, to answer yes to this question. And the last one, at any time on or after July 1st, 2015, were you determined by certain governmental agencies to be an unaccompanied youth who was homeless? So we do have the question for the homeless students. And then these are just some basic eligibility requirements. Students who are U.S. citizens, there are some cases eligible non-citizen. They have to be registered. If you're male, register with the Selective Service. Have to have the Social Security number, high school diploma or GED, no drug-related convictions while receiving aid, and then you have to be enrolled in an eligible program, or rather seeking a degree at a college, not just attending classes. Also, maintain satisfactory academic progress. I will say, whatever school you attend, please get a copy of that school's or that financial aid office's satisfactory academic progress standards. Every office has their own standards. There are minimum standards set by the federal the Department of Ed, but you need to know that in order to know what you need to maintain to be eligible for the financial aid. And not in default or overpayment status on any student loans. Okay, and then there's parental information. Basically, you skip this if the student is considered independent. And whose information do you use? As far as parents, there's lots of different situations with our families here, mine included, with my children and completing the FAFSA. I am a divorced parent, so basically my children lived with me, so they were to put my information along with my husband's information on their FAFSA, not my information and their father. So it's whatever, if the parents are separated or divorced, then it's basically the parent that the student lives with, along with that parent's spouse if they are remarried. So things like that. That's the main question that we do address. So if y'all have some questions about that when we get done, I'll be glad to answer that. And here's some more. Single or widowed, answer the question about the parent that if your widowed parent is remarried, answer the questions about that parent and their spouse. This is some more. Dependent students will be required to include on the FAFSA income and other information from the student's legal parents, biological or adoptive, regardless of the parent's marital status or gender, if those parents live together. So if the parents are not married but they live together, then basically you still have to include both parents' income information on the FAFSA. This ensures that limited taxpayer resources are directed to students with the most need, basically. And more. Records, parental income, assets, types of federal benefits received, and number of household in college. Basically, the Department of Ed does not allow, if there's any parents here who are enrolled in college also, the Department of Ed does not allow you to include yourself as in the number in college, but the schools have the authority to make a decision as to whether or not to include that information. So that would be considered a professional judgment. So you would, if you are one of those parents, then you would talk to the financial aid office that your child is attending to see if that can be done. And then signatures. That's where the FSAID comes in, or there's a signature page that may be printed and mailed in to the Department of Ed, or if you fill out the FAFSA, then you just sign the FAFSA, the paper FAFSA. Okay? Frequent errors, Social Security numbers, transposing them. Divorced, remarried parental information, we've kind of gone over that a little bit. Income earned by parents, step-parents, untaxed income, such as child support received or paid, things like that. Income taxes paid. A lot of times this is left blank. Don't leave it blank. If it's 0, put 0 there, or whatever it's supposed to be. But don't leave it blank, because then that's something that will have to be resolved later. Household size, number of household members in college, and then the other things there. And then FAFSA processing basically just goes through, it depends on if you're completing a paper FAFSA or you're completing this online, but basically what happens is you file the FAFSA with the Department of Education, then they process it and they send it on to the different schools that you have listed on the FAFSA, and then your financial aid eligibility is processed and determined at the school. Okay? And you may list up to 10 institutions, and it really won't matter. You can do that. Housing plan enrollment status, all these things, and we've gone over signatures. Making corrections, if you go in and put a will file on your FAFSA right now, you can go back into the FAFSA and complete the corrections. Student aid report, you can this is when you file the FAFSA and the Department of Education processes the FAFSA. Then they create what's called a student aid report. So the student should go back in after they complete their FAFSA, wait about a week, and check it to make sure everything is correct. That will alleviate, make the paperwork process later less for you, okay? And if you need help with that, you can check with someone. And then there are special circumstances. If you have a special circumstance, and basically these are some of the reasons right here. If you have a special circumstance, then it's best to meet with a financial aid counselor or whoever is in charge of that at the financial aid office in the school that you plan to attend. And they can tell you if it's something that can be considered for eligibility, because if it's considered, then things can be adjusted on the FAFSA to redetermine eligibility with that information, with that new information.
The event is co-sponsored by the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance, or LOSFA, and the Louisiana Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. And again, the financial aid administrators and their staffs provide the assistance at College Goal Sunday.
If people have questions like more information, what should they do?
They should contact our office. The best way to reach us is by email at custserv, CUSTSERV, @la.gov, and we will get back to you within 24 hours. You can also go on our website if you want to register for a College Goal Sunday event on March 6th. When you go to our website, osfa.la.gov, click on the College Goal Sunday icon on the home page. It will take you to a section that gives you all the information you need and an opportunity to register for the event that you want to attend.